progress.
Sorry about that, guys. I drove 30 miles to avoid this, and it still happened. All right, almost all of us back.
Except Bill Leslie, who was talking.
Right. He'll probably think I didn't want to hear what he was saying. All right, so what we were doing, guys, was just kind of introducing ourselves. Kevin, you want to go ahead?
Sure. My name's Kevin Barker. I represent South Central Kansas. I'm currently Kansas State VP. So I'm just been a while since I've taken any kind of president's class. So I thought I would just learn a little bit. And then if I got any information, I can pass it on to our state guys.
We got guys joining. Hey, William, why don't we start over again with what chapter you're with, and William Leslie. Sorry about the disconnection. I have no idea how that happened.
Well, it had to happen. All of a sudden, I got the welcome screen again.
What chapter were you with again? I didn't hear that.
I'm with the Conestoga chapter, Grand Island, Nebraska.
Right.
And that's what I'm representing here this morning anyway. And yeah, it's been the past couple of years. You know, of course, we've, like everybody else, I think the last convention I went to was 2 years ago in Jacksonville. But, and in the past couple of years, we've been kind of in hiatus, but as things kind of let up, we've been meeting again. And we're still looking for a director. I'm president of the chapter. I am currently also waving my arms up in front, trying to teach music. And we've been meeting. We only, you know, like everybody else, we've kind of lost membership. And we, of course, we've been struggling for a number of years anyway. And, but we have been meeting. We are singing. We get, once in a while, get some guests come in, but they kind of come and go. And we're kind of working, some of us are singing with another chapter as well. So we're kind of working around with a couple of different chapters, and I think we'll be helping out with the Carney show. And some of us are singing with Hastings. And so we're kind of singing around, getting a little singing in, going in anyway. And we're working on music at our meetings for some of those chapters and some of our own repertoire. We have done a couple of sing-outs, small sing-outs with the help of Hastings and some of the other guys. So yeah, we're doing a little bit of singing and still need to grow. So we're, you know, struggling like the rest of us here.
Very good. Well, welcome. How about Sean?
I'm Sean McDonald. I am the new VP for the Glacier Lakes Harmonizers in Watertown, South Dakota. I see our president is on here, Roger Carter. I was a music educator for almost 15 years. And then I had some health stuff happen. I had to retire. It sounds like we're all in the same boat. We just, COVID hit, and then now it's hard to get people back. And it sounds like everybody else, we're kind of a sinking ship. You know what I mean? And so we're really just looking for ideas on how we can improve and we can possibly encourage new members. I'll be going to the membership meeting too later. And we just did our Valentine's fundraiser, and our quartet, me, Roger, and two other guys did what was it, Roger? Over 30 singing Valentines in the day. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of singing, but we got it done. So, and we've had a couple sing outs, but there hasn't been anything of substance. I'm trying to tell them, COVID or not, we just have to be ready to sing. We need to get a set together, and we need to be ready to go. So if somebody does call and says, "Hey, can you guys do this?" Absolutely, we've got music set up and we're ready to go. We just gotta be ready to sing, and just kind of let COVID go to the side for now, and just be prepared to sing. That was the only thing that I could come up with, but I don't know. Like I said, Roger Carter's the president, and he's also on here.
Why don't we segue to Roger?
Okay, yeah. Well, hey, thanks, Sean, for the introduction. Yeah, as you know, we had a hard hit over COVID. We were struggling before that too, but we've got a good core group of singers. I'm optimistic that we can keep things going, but we do need to recruit. We have one baritone now, that's me, and well, we have another guy, but he's taking a different job, so he's traveling a lot. So anyway, yeah, we're down to about 8 guys on a good day, and but we have a couple of prospective members, and we've got some ideas. I think we've got some members of a girls group that was active and lost their leader, and maybe, and we're inviting them in and seeing if they want to do some singing. Yeah. And, we don't have any shows scheduled or anything like that yet. But we need to do some strategic planning and throw some things at the wall and see what sticks.
Thank you for that. How about Joe?
Okay, I'm from Topeka, Kansas chapter, the president, last several years. We are right now probably around 15 active members who actually sing with us, several more on the rolls who don't really participate. So not much different than most of what I've heard so far. We haven't been meeting, and we have developing a repertoire. We've had a couple of Christmas shows. We had one quartet, our old stuff, our director's quartet, did a few Valentines. We didn't actively pursue them, but several people called us, so we did a handful of Valentines that way. And we're singing national anthem at the circus tomorrow. So a few gigs going on. We increased membership. 15 was down from what we were, but 15 got back to 15 because we have gone to a mixed chorus. And we have about 5 women participating, which has been a real boost. So it's good. It's an adjustment, but it's been fun.
Awesome. Eldon? Eldon, I see you talking, and it doesn't look like your mic's on mute, but I can't hear you. Am I the only one?
No, I can't hear him either.
I think he's calling in his technical help.
Yes.
Oh, his 12-year-old.
All right. Did we lose? Oh, we'll get back to Eldon. How about Charlie?
Well, greetings, y'all. My name is Charles Ramirez, and I'm representing the Kansas City, Missouri chapter. As most of you have also expressed, we've dropped our numbers down. We have about 20 or 25 people that come to our meetings regularly, actively participating. We might be in a unique situation in that we have a very, very large membership, but we only have about 20 or 25 that are active participants and singers. This is my first year as president. However, we have a very, very strong leadership group, and they are doing their job, doing it very well. And so I don't have to do anything. I just take credit for what they do. And so it's good to go. We, as the rest of you have said, we haven't really had a chance to do much performances over the last couple of years, but we do have a performance that we're going to be doing at the Wichita convention coming up, and we're looking forward to doing that. We are fortunate also in that Don Fuson, who's over in the picture there, is a member of our chapter, and he's been very actively involved in helping develop the leadership in our chapter, and it's gone well.
Awesome. How about Keith Hammons?
Yeah, I'm Keith Hammons, and I'm the newly president of the Sarpy Serenaders chapter. And yeah, I concur with everybody. We seem to be getting through. We were successful with having a Christmas show, and we did have some quartets go out and do some Valentines, which was good. But now we have to figure out what we're doing with the rest of the year. And and that's kind of where we're at, kind of trying to think about possibility of shows, sing outs, you know, whatever the chorus does. So I know we have a Memorial Day gig coming up. That one's kind of a tradition for us. So we'll take care of that one too. So, but yeah, we're just going along and getting along. Numbers aren't as strong as they were before, but once again, we've got a solid, dedicated core, and that's what we're gonna get us through and keep us going.
Very good. Let's see. How about William Rathman?
Hi, how are you guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. My name is Bill Rathman. I'm with the Sounds of Harmony out of Belleville, Illinois. We currently have about 20 to 25 active members. We have a lot of members on the list, but about 20 to 25 regular. We have a great leadership. This is my first year as president as well, so I'm a little bit fuzzy on what exactly what I can do to get our group going, up and going. It kind of sounds like everybody I hear, it just sounds like everybody's kind of in a fog over this COVID thing after having all this, you know, and it just seems, I don't want to be depressing or anything, but that's what it seems like. And I think being barbershoppers is kind of our responsibility to bring people up, you know, and I think this is a great opportunity to help bring this country out of this funk, you know, and the more we get out there, I keep telling our guys, I said, the more we get out there and perform, whether it's for money or whether it's free, I mean, just exposure will help everybody. And we're not well known in our area. We're a very small group. We don't have a lot of advertising. We did about 15 singing Valentines this year. So we just need to get out and be visible. And I think that'll just inherently bring new members in. We've gained probably 3 already this year, new members. singing with
Very
us.
cool.
So younger guys, too. So, I'm probably the youngest in our group. The average age is probably, 70, 75 in our group. Yeah, we need to get some fresh blood in there. And that's kind of my concern as well. We had a spring show scheduled for April. We did have to reschedule that due to conflict with our director, not being able to make it actually. So he had some family issues, but yeah, we're planning on rescheduling the spring show sometime this year. It's a pleasure to meet all you guys, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this and see what I can learn. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. How about Bill Krondak? I don't think we've talked to him yet.
Good morning, Dwayne. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, good. Yeah, Bill Krondak from Leavenworth, the Cody Coraliers. We're hanging in there on membership right now. We've got guys, our regular attendance on Monday night is about a dozen, 13, 14 sometime, 10, 11 sometime. But we're concerned about membership because we've got a lot of folks who, for whatever reason, are in the area and used to sing with us, but they're not singing with us anymore. And we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we get those guys back and also get some new folks? Got one young guy. We've got a junior high guy that joined us this year, and he enjoys singing with us. So we're hoping maybe through him we can get some contacts with some of the junior high and high school kids and get some of those into our group. As far as shows, we did have a fall show last year in August and a Christmas show in December. Both of them quite successful. We're planning another show in August this year, and again another Christmas show in December. We're not going to go to a contest or anything this year. Guys have some conflicts, and we've got a couple guys whose work schedules take them off traveling around various places around the country with the Army and things like that. And so we're not going to be able to do anything with contest or get down to that. So that's kind of the report from Leavenworth. We had a few singing Valentines and had some fun with that, but not as many as sometimes.
I actually attended your show that had Boomtown on there. It was a very intimate and cool experience. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, that was fun to have Boomtown. They did a great job for us.
All right. And I was getting ready to introduce one more person, but Elda, do you have any better luck?
How's that? Is that working?
I can barely hear you.
Okay, let me turn it up here.
There you go.
How's that? Much better?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, again, Eldon Cross, Harmony Delegation, Des Moines, Iowa. And I just started my stint as president this past January. But I have served as assistant director for about 7 years with the group. During that process, we did hire a new director, but that's been several years ago. We did have a live Christmas show with the Sweet Adeline's group in Des Moines, Harmony Central, and that was our first live show of last year. We did a virtual show for our spring show, and that was a unique experience, to say the least. We learned a lot from that, and BHS helped us quite a bit with putting that on. We are scheduled to do a spring show on April 30th, and we found a venue for that. We've had a good, strong core of about 30 folks throughout this. We started out pretty much on Zoom, and that was not as engaging as we thought. So with the warmer weather, we actually started out in the parking lot and parks, singing when the weather cooperated. And then we meet at a university and we follow their guidelines. We sing with masks in the room at this time. And that may change with the new CDC guidelines that have been announced, but we'll see what happens there. We've managed to grow. We've gotten about 4 gentlemen, maybe early 20s, late 20s, to join us. My vice president is one of them, and he's recruited some of his friends. So we've grown, but the core group has stuck with us and been very lucky throughout this whole process. So, but we're continuing to watch, pound the payment and look for new members as well. We're starting our 75th year this year, so we're using that kind of as a launch pad to make it known that we've been around for a while. We're going to stick around. So
Very good. Thank you.
you bet.
And before I introduce Don Fuson, I just want to kind of say, I hope this is helpful to hear what other chapters are going through and to empathize, what we're doing. Just keep in mind with your planning, the chorus I sing in, I think is kind of stuck on what we used to be and making efforts on that, where the chorus used to be, and instead of where we are now. I would say not after the pandemic, but living through the pandemic. Things aren't the same. We're not going to have the same audiences. We're not going to have the same members. We're not going to have the same chorus singers or anything. And that's something we got to think about to adjust for our future. So the next person I'd like to introduce, I think I've gone through everyone, but Don Fuson has been a chapter president of a few chapters, and district president and international president. And how's that for an introduction, Don? And he has the same birthday that I do, but not the same year, but the same birthday.
Not the same year, Dwayne. Well, guys, I'm just here listening and everything. I was drugged back in, and I am the CSD membership VP, so I'll see some of your representatives at 1 o'clock on a similar call. And thanks for Dwayne for just getting us together. I think everybody does have similar issues as we try and get back out. I'm encouraged because some of you guys really sound like you're in good shape after all the COVIDness and everything. And the rest of everybody could learn from those folks by just getting out and singing in the community. Doesn't have to be free. It can be free. It doesn't have to be ticketed. So just becoming a more known instance. I did pick up an interesting thing. After the chapter president does a little bit of the governance side of what you do with a chapter to keep it legal and keep it filed with your state. States are different, how often you have to do that and all that good stuff, but your chapter secretary should be able to follow that through. And then the biggest issue is, who's on your board and how do you do planning about to replace yourself? If the very first chapter that I visited way back when had a chapter president that had been in place for 14 years. And so the real issue, you challenge folks like that says, what will be on your epitaph? Joe Barbershopper passed away and the chapter died with him. And I don't think anybody wants to do that. We have a skill set here to sing and get smiles generation in our audiences in the community. And after we do a little planning and that thing, and communicating with our members and getting their support to whatever plan is working. I love somebody that said, well, we'll just throw things against the wall and see if some of them stick. And so you have to have the members involved in doing that. So any of us in the district will be glad to answer any questions. And I'm glad that Bill Rathman from Belleville came on, probably through the St. Louis Area Council. They said anybody that wants to participate in this CSD event. Well, I've participated in various and sundry trainings throughout a lot of districts. We don't have anything that we can't share with anybody. So Bill, you're kind of representing all the non-CSD chapters today, and we appreciate you sharing what your chapter is doing. I would challenge us that if Grand Island's here, but Kearney isn't, or Hastings isn't, that Bill Leslie would call those guys and say, you know, that I learned one thing from Dwayne today by just listening and everything. I just thought you'd like to know that little bit. So you all can be the missionaries for the future. Yesterday in the live wire that each of you probably get, but maybe didn't read or didn't notice, there is a new program coming out that individual chapters will be called by what's called the BHS ambassador. And it's somebody that's just going to call your chapter leader, president, music director, anybody else you'd like to put in place, and basically just listen. How are you doing? How did you survive? What's your plans for 2022? And what kind of things do you need a little help on doing? And a lot of it is, as Dwayne has started to say, it says, anybody that thinks we'll get back to the way it used to be probably is wrong, because things change around us and it's not well noticed for that kind of thing. So exchanges like this, I think, are very critical and important. And then you take back and you say to your own boards, what do we want to do that's different? And how do we start doing that? The first step is sometimes the hardest to take. Thanks, Dwayne.
Thank you. All right, so one thing that you should know as president is know your skill set. And my skill set is not on the tech. So even for the district, I have my immediate past president and I have my executive vice president that handles all my tech meetings. And that's going to be challenged here when I attempt to share my screen. I have a couple documents that I want to bring up. If this does not go through or you don't want to download it now, my email is tornadoalleybaritone@gmail.com. That's also on the district website. If you guys want to write down my phone number, it's 816-419-2644. Any question you have, feel free to contact me. If I don't know it, I'll get you to the right person. But I want to make sure everyone knows that the district board is here as a resource for you guys and you're not in it alone, okay? All right, look, let's share the screen. Be patient with me. All right, can Don, if there's any chat questions, will you monitor that? Let me know.
Okay, I will.
And then you can see me and you can see the chapter president workbook.
Yep, you're sharing. Okay, Dwayne.
Excellent. So I'm not going to go through every page of this. This is on the Member Center. You can Google it and you can find the chapter president workbook. It's has a lot of great information in there. I kind of just want to give you some sources. And then again, my goal on this is to have a couple chats of what we can do that's not in the workbooks, and then across so we understand what we're doing with each other to help each other out or to contact. So as you look at this, I can't see everyone, but is everyone aware that this workbook is out on the Member Center? No, I hear some yeses and nos. So we'll just go through it. So, and again, send me an email if I don't have it already, and I will email this to you guys. So just going through a couple of key things. This is probably the most important, what the chapter president does. One of the things you'll see is the House of Delegates meeting. We have a House of Delegates meeting in the spring convention and the fall convention. For the spring convention, we're going to try to also have this on Zoom. So if you're not going to be able to make it, we want to make sure you have access to the meeting. But I have found that some district or some chapter presidents have no idea that they're supposed to go to this meeting to vote on as the House of Delegates. So wanted to make that plain and clear. And then, you know, another goal you should have as chapter president is what you're doing right now. Attend the Leadership Academy. And I greatly appreciate you guys taking time. I don't know if I want to say actually investing in yourself, but taking, since this is free, but you know, taking advantage of any class you can do to make yourself better or make your chapter better. So like I said, you guys can go download this and go through it yourself. Gives description of the secretary and treasurer. I would strongly advise making sure whatever your secretary and treasurer enjoy, whether it's a 6-pack of Pepsi or another beverage of choice, get with them and have a nice chat, because they're going to be your best friends in making sure your chapter is run as you are president. Robert's Rule of Orders. If you don't know this, the society has accepted the Robert's Rule of Order for small board. It's a little bit less demanding as far as the rules. If you are not familiar with that, let us know. We can get you the basic rules. Meeting agenda, I'm sure you guys have that. I'm assuming that all of you are meeting with your treasurer or committee to have a budget meeting. You know, talk about where the money's going to be coming from, whether it's money from shows, membership dues, or donations from sponsors. Make sure you have all that planned out for your year. This has a great tip on setting your goals during your meetings. Trying to think if there's anything else that would be handy. And then there's also some links here. Again, going back to the guide for Robert's Rules of Order for small boards, BHS standard bylaws, society use statement. Some of you have younger people in your chapter. Make sure you're addressing that. There's some things that we have to go through just to make sure we're up to date on that. So let me go ahead and shout out if there's any questions on this besides downloading it and reading to yourself. Anyone? All right, we'll move on. So this was something I'd be glad to share with you guys. This is a presentation that I stole. I did not make this up myself. It's the art of being president. And I would say the art of being president is stealing good ideas from each other. So let's just go through a couple of these. Like I said, I'd be glad to send this to anyone. We don't have to take time. I want to value your time and do more talking, but I just want to show you some of the things that we have. I kind of like this line. Being responsible sometimes means pissing people off. You have to do everything the best for the chapter. But we also have to be good listeners. You know, take time and because everyone's paying their dues, everyone's taking their time to show up to rehearsal, everyone's opinion is valued. You know, you will have to pick and choose. We can't please everyone, but this comes to heart. I mean, everyone, if you have members that aren't showing up to your rehearsal, there's probably a reason, right? It may be something with you as the president, maybe a difference in your director. Maybe we just need to have the conversation. Let's see. Again, some really good things on here. I like the concept of being more of a leader than in management. You know, don't ask anyone to do anything you wouldn't do yourself, but don't try to do everything yourself either. That's something I failed at when I was chapter president. I wanted to make sure it was done, and I thought I was the only one that could do it, and I need to be able to get other people involved to help run a successful chapter. Communicate, that's the big thing. You know, are you really listening to when somebody comes up to you and asks something, or are you just getting through the conversation? This is kind of cool. So some people just join a chapter just to join, you know, for their personal reason to sing. We can't have a chapter without people volunteering. So here's some key things of why do people volunteer? You know, someone asked me, belief in the leader, professional growth, personal recognition. You know, the chapter I'm in does not do a barbershopper of the month. They do barbershopper of the year, but I'd be curious to see who all does the barbershop of the month once we get through this. But a really good slide, and like I said, I will email this out to you guys. Just send me a message and I'll reply back. Very good. Let's see what else I had here. So this is something we'll probably talk, if you're going to attend the 11 o'clock session with the secretaries and treasurers and presidents. This is a good piece of information, kind of helps you get a timeline and everything that you should do. Like also, I think it mentions what Don was saying, how we have to register as a not-for-profit business with our state, but this gives you a good timeline of everything that you should do. What I would like to highlight in here is around August, start nominating your slate of officers. And if you could, and I don't know if this is an official rule, but if you give your chapter at least 3 meetings to announce the slate of officers, and then by October, you can do your election. With the new member center, if you don't get your information of who's president, secretary, and treasurer in to member center on January 1, those people will not have access. So put down this date, December 1, to list your new officers in member center and your existing officers if they're terminating at the end of the year, their end date and the start date for the others. That's very important. We've had several people call and say, hey, I can't get into my member center, or I can't access things that I need, and that's why.
Can you repeat that again, sir?
What's that?
Can you repeat that part again? December 1st, list the officers.
Yeah, go into member center, have your president or secretary, I believe, update. So you'll know your slate, you know, for the next year for in this case, 2023. You'll know your slate, and let's say that your treasurer is coming off at the end of the year. You want to make sure they have an end date for them and a start date for your new person.
Okay, thank you very much.
Don, does that line up with your thoughts on there?
It is. It's good out there. Again, this is part of the chapter secretary training that if your chapter secretary is not on the call today, they should call Mark Furness and he can do some additional work on that. But basically, it's a time frame whereby somebody in your chapter can get in and generate a chapter roster or whatever. And if you let that time frame expire, well, then you've got to go back to headquarters to get them reset. And so just avoid that by doing something early. As soon as you have a chapter election in the fall, you can go ahead and put those persons in for the next year, effective December 15th, and avoid all that year-end expiration.
One of the things that we noticed, though, on the BHS website was you have your current leaders and then you have them as incoming. when January 1st comes around, it does not automatically activate the January members as current. So we had to go in and do that ourselves.
Larry, I know that that might be an issue. I know that they have a separate standalone. You should not have to do the standalone process, but they will fix that in mass. But it doesn't happen on January 1st. So the way to start that, if you ask me, is you go ahead and let the incoming secretary have some turnover and overlap time and make them on December 1st. And that way, if something happens, well, then you've got 2 or 3 weeks ahead of their actual due date. It's important. It's very, very important that every single chapter person, and this is a president's oversight, that says have a meeting with your current board and your new board. And especially important if somebody is actually changing jobs, well, then what is it that was done correctly that you're going to want somebody to perpetuate? And what was it that you had an idea you could never get off the ground, so that that new person doesn't have to start from scratch? There's a concept of mentoring, and it happens in any role in any organization. So a barbershop chapter and chorus planning is not immune to that kind of mentoring that will be of benefit to all of us.
All right, awesome. So just recapping where we're at so far, we're planning this meeting to go from 9 to probably a little bit before 11 or so. We'll stop when we need to stop, but we'll go until we need to go. Like I said, those 3 documents, you don't have to worry about those now. Just ask for me or to send those to you, and we'll get that done. I would like to just start some conversation. Basically, now that we've had a little bit of talk, I want to make sure there's something that, if there's something you're still wanting to talk about, I want to do that, and then we can also share across. One concept that I've just noticed over the years is sometimes your board of directors will lead the chapter, and other chapters I belong to, the music team kind of leads the chapter. I don't know if that's just something I've come up with, or if you guys experienced that at all. But one comment I heard from Jim Henry, and I'm assuming you all know him, being from Central States District, is the times he started feeling that their chapter was really successful was when the board and the music team was really working well together. So in addition to having your past year's board meet and your future year's board meet, I would strongly suggest, at least at the beginning of the year, that the board and the music team meet together and just hash out all your dreams and make sure you're on the same page, because nothing's worse to your chapter chapter treasurer to get a bill for $1,000 that they weren't planning on because the director decided to have a song arranged for you guys. So making sure everything's on the same page. I'm sure no one's ever experienced that here, but something that you guys can meet together would be great. You know, another topic I wanted to talk about is how do you define your chapter? You know, is your chapter really well at singing, but maybe not good on the business side? Or do you have a chapter like the only one just one I know of, and they're not on here, so I'll talk about it, is the Hayes chapter. I know their shows are they make a ton of money because they have a community that they go out and have all these sponsors, and they can afford to bring all these other groups in. I belong to a chapter that is opposite of that. We can't get someone to get our insurance agent to give a business card for a sponsor. So just something to think about that as far as your chapter. You know, some chapters that don't go to compete, you know, they just want to have a good time singing. You know, maybe that's an opportunity to be real leaders in their community. You know, one suggestion, I want to hear your guys's on that, is you know, have all your members wear your chorus t-shirt and go to the high school production of their vocal music or the plays in town, and just be a presence. I mean, that's something that's simple as could be a huge factor when they say, well, where'd all the guys from the Sarpy Serenaders, what's that? You know, that was awesome. All those guys came to support our show. So that's one example I want to talk about. You know, everyone in harmony. We've had some big changes with that in the last couple of years. Recently, probably doesn't affect a lot of us, but the international convention, they changed the rules of who's going to be the overall winner. And we've had a lot of positive comments on that. We've always also had the negative, but what I was encouraged to hear from you guys is that, you know, you might be in a situation where you don't have enough tenors, or you don't have the right leadership, and you're going out and reaching out with the Sweet Alliance community, or women are coming into your community, and I do think there's a place for everyone in harmony, and I'm glad to see that some of that's working out for many of you guys. So what I've experienced from a lot of district presidents and other district presidents across the in other districts is they like to hear themselves talk, and I do not. So I would love to have a conversation with any of you anytime you want, but I'm not gonna sit here and talk the whole time. So why don't we talk about one concept, and we'll share it around. But one chapter president that I thought did a really good job was he wanted to know who his members were. So he personally sat down and had a meeting, whether it was after Afterglow or during a break or at a lunch or a dinner with those guys, and he sat down and talked with them and found out what makes them want to come to sing, what makes them want to come to rehearsal. Also found out whether they had some other talents, you know, if they're an accounting background and maybe they might want to be a future treasurer, or they had some music experience and maybe they want to teach a tag. What is that something, what I want to hear from you guys, is that something that you have already done, or is that something you consider? And what benefit you might come out with that if you want to talk. So just go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll have a chat about that. Larry.
One of the things that I did my first stance as president was our chapter had not done a strategic plan for maybe ever. And what I did in that one was I came up with a bunch of questions that I wanted to ask the membership, and we cut our meeting rehearsal times off 15 minutes early. And anybody who wanted to stay would stay, and anybody who didn't were free to leave. And then I would pose the question to them, and we would have a roundtable discussion. We'd let everybody provide their input if they wanted. If they didn't want to speak in the meeting, I had pieces of paper there for the people to write down their response, because obviously not everybody would feel comfortable speaking in front of 20 people. So I had people that would write down their responses, and then I took everybody's responses after I had, I think it was 8 questions that I asked, so 8 consecutive meetings, so 2 months of time. I compiled all that, put that into a summary document, and kind of called that our strategic plan. One of the things that you had mentioned was, are you a singing chorus? Are you a competing chorus? Are you a social chorus? That was one of the questions that I asked. And overwhelmingly, the people who spoke wanted to be a competing chorus. And so then that drove us, as we were hiring our new director then, to get somebody who was going to be focusing on improving our chorus to be able to get us to be able to compete at district contests. And so that was one of the ways I got the membership involved. And I resurrected that when I became our president again here this year, so that I've got that back in front of our chorus as we start to move forward with that.
That's awesome. Anyone else have any they want to share, or any other ideas on that? How about Charlie?
One of the things that we've done is we've sent out a survey to all our members with some questions listed and asked them to respond to them. And if we didn't get a response, then we went and spoke with them individually to get information about their, as Larry was indicating, their desires, their talents, their skills, and so on. And that did broaden out our scope of potential leaders for different activities. And the other thing that we've done is that we have introduced in the middle of our meeting a business time when we let people who have anything that they'd like to talk about or share with the entire chapter have an opportunity to do that. And that's done and I think that's going to help to broaden the interest, broaden the knowledge of what everybody likes and what everybody is trying to get done, so that we can get more involvement from the entire chapter rather than just the board knowing and incidentally other folks getting that information. So that's one thing that we've had an opportunity to get done this year. And that seems to be working out. Of course, we've only had a couple of meetings. We've only had a couple of months to do that. So it's just getting started. And we'll see how that goes continually.
Very good. Anyone else on this topic? Let's go. Dave Stock had his hand up.
Yeah, what we've done in the past is we've had an annual planning meeting. We didn't have one last year really per se. We've had an annual planning meeting at the beginning of the year. We've invited everyone to come to listen, to contribute. This year, what we're planning to do, and since we're down on the numbers a little bit, and we've been having a little trouble getting people to come in, we're actually going to sit down over dinner on Tuesday evening instead of our regular chapter meeting, and sit down, chat, have a good social time, and chew the fat, and maybe send out a couple of different questions about, well, what do you think? What should we do? And what do you have in mind? And are there some things that you'd like to do? We like to do things like that. We've also forever, for as long as I have been here, which is well in excess of 30 years, we've always had a business meeting of one sort or another at our chapter meetings too. And if there's anybody that's not doing that, I fully endorse that that concept too, for the exact thing that Charles said. Make sure that everybody knows the basic things that are going on, and give people a chance to say, is there anything that we haven't mentioned yet that for the good of the chapter? And it's kind of surprising sometimes some of the things that come up. So yeah, we do these planning meetings, and those have definitely been a help over the years.
And Eldon?
Thank you. Yes, we've actually started off with the skills inventory, just to check in there and see if there's any possibilities there, besides just some observations as far as developing leadership within the group. Also, I've started a president's council, past presidents of the group, just to get their insights as well. They know the group. They've been there longer than I have. And so with the age of the group, they can give me some helpful insights. And one of them was coming up with what they call a SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. May follow up that with this from the skills inventory to that, again, just to get a feel for what the group is feeling at this time. And but through those encounters, I've learned a lot. I had some insights from former members now that you see a different side of them when they kind of let their guard down from the rehearsals when it's in a nice intimate setting, like a breakfast or something like that. And so I found that very helpful, and we'll lean on them as I go through the year. But my biggest goal right now is to, as you alluded to, Don, in the beginning, is succession. How am I going to work myself out of the job and know it's going to be continued on our goals for the chapter? And so that's the biggest thing we're working on right now.
Thanks, Eldon. And I will allow some time for questions, once we get everyone a chance to talk. But for you, Eldon, I'll jump in just because I'm running the meeting. That President's Council, I think, is an awesome idea. Is everyone that you're involving still members, or does that also involve maybe chapter presidents that are no longer members?
They're all members, current members of the group. So, and so that's, and it's been from different eras of the chorus. So when they've been at the strongest as far as numbers and dealing with everything prior to that, where we're seeing the decline of numbers and the difficulty in recruiting new members and things like that. So just get their insights on that. So
you guys have uncovered the why. Why would you sit down and talk with all your members? One, I love that skills inventory, and the other is succession for the next members on the board in the next year, next few years. Anyone else have any comments on that?
Dwayne, Joe Silsby raised his hand.
Go ahead, Joe.
Maybe he was just scratching his head. Don't know.
There we go. I had to get my mute unmuted. One thing I've attempted to do, and not very well, I think I'll follow it up this year a little bit more, is exit interviews of people who have left to try to get a why and what was the difference. Oftentimes it's family obligations, or it wasn't what they thought, but sometimes a couple of them are really insightful in terms of, for example, that our group takes too long to learn the music and they learn it really quickly and they get frustrated with that. So there's some things to work around that. Or one was that his background is Jewish, and most of our sing outs have been church related to Christian based churches. And he was at that time one of the few strong baritones, and we depended on him a lot, and he felt obligated on one hand, but on the other hand, he felt that he was being boxed in and not being able to voice some frustration about that we weren't doing enough non-church sing outs. So that was insightful. So I'd like to do that more consistently with everybody else as they leave, if they respond. I've tried it by email and they don't always respond. So it's better face-to-face or phone call or something, I'm sure. So I need to follow up better on that.
And Joe,
I would say even more important now than it was before. Don't underestimate the power of a phone call or
right.
If
Sorry,
all
Don,
the
I stepped on you.
Yeah, Dwayne, a couple of things. One, if all the chapter presidents on this call have not gone out to the member center and looked at their own chapter, and then there's a little section on the far down right side, I guess that's over here on your screen, that says files. You can do a download for your own chapter and look at current and former members. You can get a chapter roster. You can get a current leadership area. And following up to what Larry was saying, if you haven't gone out and shown all your current members and all the jobs that they've ever done, It's very insightful because you'll find some longer term members. And this is especially important in smaller chapters where you lean on everybody to do something. Okay. But in the larger chapters, you will find some longer term people who have never been on the chapter board, even as an at-large. And you'll find some people in some chapters where you have snowbirds and they say, oh, I can't do that. I'm not here all the years. And what that immediately sets up is an opportunity to have a secretary and a co-secretary. So when that guy goes to his Florida condo for 2 months, you have somebody else that'll do his job. Consider that a co, but also somebody that's being developed, and he can then take over that job in the future or whatever. Dwayne is so right that says a one-person gang has its own single point of failure, and you don't want to do that. You can tell I'm a AT&T guy before I retired. So every single community and every single area of a program or a committee have to have at least 2 people, if not 3 or 4, involved, just to be aware. They don't have to be the spokesman. They don't have to run the meetings, but somebody else to share ideas. And then if those 2 people, the leaders, are out of town, well, then in the general session about what else is happening in the chapter for the benefit of everybody to listen, well, then somebody else on that can be called upon just to say, well, this was some of our discussion, and you'll get more of it there. But it's a developmental way that everybody can be part of the organization in a non-singing capacity. We'll leave it up to the music and performance guys and the directors to help them with their musical ability, but you're the leader as a chapter president on developing the leadership ability in other areas. So a couple of ideas. And if you're not familiar with how to download that, well, then your district secretary, Mark, or your chapter secretary, whoever that is, should be able to help you do that. But as a chapter president, you do have that capability to download that and then share that out.
I have a couple more topics to discuss. Anything else before we jump to the next one from anyone? Roger tricked me. He was just touching his eye. All right. All right. So the next thing is, what does a chapter night look like? And if there's and I thought we could kind of discuss that, just everyone go down the line and discuss that. Maybe there's some ideas that one chapter is doing that the other one doesn't. I'll start with my current group that I'm in. We start the rehearsal off with warm-ups, and I will say I've never been in another chapter that does long as warm-up as ours does. And you can ask me if that's good or bad later. Then we usually open that up to teaching a tag. And then we'll get into the repertoire. And then something that Charlie said that was interesting to me was, when do you do the business of the chapter? When does the president speak? When does the chapter manager speak? And I used to like to do that at the beginning because it kind of laid out a format for the night. But I also found that people didn't show up on time for rehearsal, and they would miss that opportunity. So after all the music is done, and before we do Keep the Whole World Singing, we'll do our chapter business there at the end. So that's a run through of what I do. Is there anything different that you guys do? Bill Rathman?
Yes, sir. We usually have a break in between. We'll go like a break halfway between our rehearsal time, and that's when we'll do our business. That way, got a captive audience there, so it works out best for us.
Right before the break?
Yes, sir. Yeah, right. We'll have our little meeting, and then we'll have our break right after that. I'm sorry. Yep.
Awesome. Keith Hammons.
I just kind of, you were talking about warm-ups. One of the things that we've kind of done since COVID, we've kind of taken it upon ourselves to do vocal warm-ups, but we also stretch and and do breathing exercises and just several things to get ready to sing for the night.
Wow.
And so that and even at that point, we've even done some theory, you know, we talk about the chords, we talk about, there's just a lot of things that are presented at that point before we start into the music. And then we sing for a while, and then we have our business meeting, and then we go back and we sing for a little bit longer, and then we conclude our evening.
Very cool. I saw several hands up. If you want to raise them up again. Larry.
Kind of like Bill said, we split our meeting into two. As part of our warm up, so a lot of times we'll do a polecat number. So we'll pick different polecats to do that up front. We also have a tendency to do our learning of new songs in the first half of the show or meeting, so that your mind is fresh and you're able to sing better. We take our business meeting middle of the meeting. We'll take a break, and a lot of times we'll come back from that, and that's where we'll teach the tags. And then we'll work on our rep music. One of the things that I do is I put all of my stuff in a PowerPoint. And so we have a projector in the meeting space. So prior to the meeting, I have my PowerPoint scrolling that, and I kind of tweak it. What is today's event? So maybe it's National Chocolate Day. So the first slide will say today's National Chocolate Day. I put on there on a slide everybody's birthdays who's within the next 2 weeks. So that 2 weeks prior to 2 weeks after, people get that. I also put out there what's happened in days in history. So I will try to find what's happened in history. I'll put some business meeting stuff on there, upcoming performances and things like that. And I have that scroll for about a half hour prior to rehearsal. So as people come in, they're able to look at that. They can see what tonight's agenda is throughout the whole time. So that all scrolls. But then once the meeting starts, then I take it out of the presentation mode and just put the agenda up on the screen for everybody. But we try to do the learning first and then the rep stuff toward the end of the meeting.
Very interesting. Who else?
Bill's got a hand up there.
I see. I saw Eldon put his hand up first, and then we'll go with Tom.
Yes, we've broken up our meeting with the business meeting in the middle of the rehearsal and lead into break. And something we usually warm ups and a tag before we get into the repertoire. But I'm also at this point asking the small VLQs to get together and then during break, sing one of the tags of one of the songs we're doing in the repertoire to sing us back in from break. So that's a signal for everybody to gather and kind of quiets them down at that point. So that's I found that pretty useful in bringing them back into and they hear something that we're maybe working on the second half with the repertoire. So we're trying that out and using one of our more tenured members to help us out with the quartetting and things like that. So we get a little element of that, and we just, if time, do some tag singing after the meeting as well.
Thank you. Tom.
I don't know that ours is a lot different than the others. We start out with the old songs and a polecat typically down our way, although I want to change that because it gets boring after so many years. And then warm up. We've been working on tags for our warm up the last year or so, which is interesting. Halfway through, after about an hour, we take a break, and that's when I go through and cover the any business correspondence, thank you notes, or anything like that we have, and any business that needs to come up. prior to COVID, we would have treats, we'd have cookies and punch or something like that. We're going to be starting that back up. Historically, we've had trouble getting people to quit talking and come back for practice after the break. A few years ago, they were doing, called it Bring Back Quartet. We're hurting real bad for quartets. We couldn't do singing Valentine's this year because our one quartet that was real active, charades, is tenor is moving, so they're not going to be singing anymore. So I'm going to start back up the Bring Back Quartets, which will hopefully encourage people and make them realize it's not so frightening and so scary to sing in a quartet. My voice is not that good anymore, and so I don't want to sing lead for sure. But we've got a lot of good leads that, maybe they'll be more willing to sing in a quartet if we do that.
Perfect. Joe.
I don't know that we do a whole lot different than everybody else mentioned, but usually the business meeting in the middle, and then right after that we can go to sectionals and either work on a song we haven't hit for quite a while, or one that is troublesome, or a new song. And then after sectionals, we come back together. Tags are thrown in throughout different times, sometimes before the business meeting, sometimes afterwards. But then when we come back, then we get back to repertoire rehearsal before we end. And then there's usually thrown together groups that sing for a little while afterwards. Part of the problem is that we have shortened our rehearsal time down to 90 minutes. We used to use 2 hours. And we're meeting Sunday afternoons because our director works nights during the week. So it's either Saturday or Sunday. So Sundays seem to be the best, except when the Chiefs were playing. But other than that. So until his work schedule changes, we're kind of stuck on the Sunday. We're making it work. But it's the sectional thing has become really part of the routine, and it's pretty helpful. Sometimes we put the leads and the basses together and the baritones and the tenors together, since we're a small group rather than 4 separate ones. And I found if you can sing your part against the baritone part, that means you have it down pat. But if you can't, then, well, you need to work on it some more. Anyway, that's why I do.
Awesome. Bill, I see your hand up.
Yeah, this is Bill Krondak out at Leavenworth. We do a lot of the same things. We start with the old songs, Honey Little Lies. We sing a couple other polecats. Then we go through a warm-up, just vocal warm-ups, vocal warm-up number 1 or 2 or whatever. And then we usually work on new songs. While everybody's still fresh and warmed up and tuned up. We work on that about an hour, then do a short business meeting where each of the board members, can say whatever they've got going or anything coming up. And also any of the members can, ask questions or raise an issue or come up with some opportunity for a sing out or whatever. Then we take a break, usually cookies, coffee, or tea. You come back with a quartet, get somebody lined up before the break. Hey, you guys come back and we'll sing this song. Sometimes it's a registered quartet, sometimes it's a pickup quartet, but that kind of gets everybody back together. And then we'll go over some old repertoire, or we may come back and work on some of the new songs as well as we're preparing for a show or some performance. So that's pretty much what we do, and it seems to work. Guys are willing to participate. I do have to share one story with you though. You mentioned or you had Colin Powell in one of your charts there about it, how you have to do stuff. And I worked for the Army for a number of years before I retired, and I had to brief him one time. And the facility up at Fort Leavenworth was a wargaming facility, but it was built in what used to be an old horse stable. And when weather conditions, the soil moisture and the humidity and temperature were just right, you could smell horse manure in the building. And we were briefing him one time, and we could tell he started kind of sniffing and looking. And we made the comment, sir, well, if you're going to get good products, you have to have a little fertilizer to grow them. He started laughing.
That's good.
There's an old horse tale, so I understand. I thought I'd
All
share.
right. So
Good guy.
this next part will probably either take us to the end or it'll last 30 seconds. So it's going to be depend on you guys. But what I know we've thrown a lot of things at you. We've had a good sharing. Is there anything that you're wanting to get out of today that we haven't discussed yet?
I was just curious. Is there because I am a big dumb animal. You can ask my wife. And I need stuff very elementary style. I'm a tenor too, so those high notes have been rattling my brain around. But is there a top 3 thing that presidents should do? You understand what I'm saying? Kind of a condensed version of what the main responsibilities of a president are?
Yeah, I'll let some of the other guys share. Those documents that I showed earlier that I breezed through, that's really in there.
All right.
But I would just say be on time, be a good listener, run the meetings efficiently, value people's time. Make sure you're working with your secretaries and treasurers, make sure the budget is established, make sure your show licenses are all in place before your show. Make sure your show, this is a big one, make sure your show is not on the same date as a spring convention or a fall convention. That would be a big thing. What about some of the other experienced presidents that we've had online? That's a great question, Sean. Bill.
Yeah, I can empathize with you. Being a new president, that was actually one of my biggest concerns was what do I need to do? That's essential, and I'm more concerned with the legal aspect of the organization, making sure that the required paperwork is put in on time and knowing what to put in, what is required for the organization to legally function as far as financially announcing shows, registering shows, and with BHS itself. So I'm currently kind of investigating that and making sure I'm doing it right. And I think that document that Mr. Lawson showed us at the beginning outlines a lot of that. And then there's some helpful resources on the website as well that'll tell you that.
And Dwayne, I'm going to send you an email because I really want you to send me that stuff. Because I would like to print that off and get it laminated and put in a book to pass down. Because right now I'm just the VP. And I'm really clueless on what a VP membership. So, but I'm hoping eventually maybe to step in to a higher role in the group. But yeah, I will. If I put my email in the comments, because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to stay around all day, and I'll probably forget your email. If I put my email in my comments, could you see that and send them to me?
As I alluded to on my tech abilities, go ahead and try that, and I will definitely try to get that written down before we shut it down. But yes, Sean, and also you said you're a VP. Once you become a president, lean on your immediate past president. They don't want to see you fail, so they'll help you along the way also.
Absolutely.
Any other hot tips for anyone?
If everybody would go ahead and go to the little chat thing at the bottom, and it'll open up a window. And if you just put in your name and your email, well, then Dwayne will have it more readily available for the people on this call. Dwayne, I'm a little concerned that we've been talking about the weekly programs, which is fine, but there hadn't been really too many people talking about the monthly board meetings. And when you started out, you said, well, keep yourself legal and everything. Charlie Ramirez said, well, I don't do anything other than just make sure everybody else is doing the things that they are supposed to do, you know, type of thing. And so a good president knows when to ask the leading questions and say, how can I support you in making that next step that your committee, your role, whatever it might be, is supposed to be doing? Every single board meeting, the treasurer, treasurer can bring a snapshot of the financials, of course, against a budget that would be developed and approved. One of the things that you're supposed to do every January, Mr. President, is have a board resolution about who's going to handle the chapter money. And the treasurer, obviously, but you probably have other people there, show chairs or whoever it might be. And you just need a simple resolution that says the board approves the following people or the following roles to handle the functions of the finances for the chapter. And that includes signature cards at the bank and getting those updated when people change, as well as agents for the administrative side of chapters and their registrations. And, you know, the city or the state will send a notice about your registration to your agent, not your current president. So you have to make sure that that person is in place or at least updated as it may be. So then on a regular basis, the chapter secretary should be bringing a listing for the chapter board to review about, maybe that's the membership person, but somebody saying in the next 30 to 60 days, the following people are up for renewal. Now, if those are current members, you can say, did you get your email from headquarters and have you done that? Or if you're already on a month-to-month kind of thing, well, then you don't have to worry about that. If it's an inactive current member, a member of the roster that doesn't sing but were active 20 years ago and has maintained his membership with the chapter, then you may have to call that person and say, do you need some help on renewing, type of thing. But those are the non-singing things that the chapter president is very importantly reminding and then saying, how are you handling that? Can I help you not forget that that's part of your month-to-month kind of thing as well? Bill, you have another comment there. Bill Rathman.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry to keep making comments here, but we just recently had an issue with a central point of contact. We had an individual change roles. One went off the board and one came on. A new member came on, and as far as who has the signature card, like you mentioned, also who gets the mail, who gets the correspondence. Do you have a mailbox, a central mailbox that somebody goes to? I mean, we got people living in different towns and different areas. How do you centralize all that to accommodate the organization?
One size does not fit all, but Bill is raising an important point that says at least it has to be a discussion element for every new board on January to make sure it's taken care of for the year, or if it happens every quarter or whatever else it is. The other thing that you got to remember that says that your books for your chapter is supposed to be reviewed by somebody. Our district treasurer does an excellent job in supporting chapters that don't have somebody locally that knows how to look at income statements and income and expenses and stuff like that to make sure everything is copacetic. But those things are supposed to be done early in the first quarter so that you can mark them off as complete on a timely basis. And again, your treasurers and your secretaries and other classes are learning about those. So as president, you just say, what's key on your role, and then how can I remind you that if you haven't got it done, it'll be on next year or next month's board meeting agenda as well. So that's kind of a non-singing presidential short list that Sean and others you could probably fall upon, even if you're not a tenor, Sean.
Yeah, let me just throw out a couple of other things that came to mind. you'll probably find that people have not updated their membership. And I will give anyone $5 if they can call Barbershop Harmony Society and get someone to answer the phone. So from people that I've had experience with, if they're a quartet trying to get re-upped or just try to join the chapter again, it's better to email the customer service to get your membership updated than try to call. The tenor of my quartet called 5 times, never got a response. I said, try to email them, and was responded within 24 hours. So that's just a little helpful tip for all of us. And then as you are, if you're incoming president or thinking about future president, one thing, I still remember the phone call from Don Fuson many years ago that told me that my chorus wasn't registered with the state. And that was something I had to get on pretty quick. So make sure you know who is doing that and who is renewing that, most importantly. That would be a big thing for you to know this year. And sometimes it's 2 years renewal, sometimes it's 1 year renewal. We just want to be on top of that, so you're in compliance with the state.
Now, this is something else that I kind of have too. You have new members come in, and some of them just financially can't swing the dues. And I know this year COVID saved me. I got the discounted dues and all that stuff. Do you guys have anything in your chapter in place to help somebody with that? Or is it just kind of, well, I guess since you can't afford it, you can't do it type of deal?
I'd love to hear some other people, but I know some chapters have established a president's fund. And that's held in separate, restricted money within their chapter. And then, if the board votes on it, then maybe they can use some of those funds to pay for another member, or you just might have someone that in your chapter that wants to be known for that. That's something you could discover. They have some extra money laying around. They want to help new people coming in. We have a guy named Pops in our chapter, and he's helped with that. A lot of people, so that could be an option for you.
We have a few people that will at times pay membership for another member, and they don't want to be known. You don't know, you never know who did that. The International used to have a system. Now I've heard they've discontinued it, where if the new member would submit his credit card, they would bill his credit card monthly, so that at the end of the year he's paid up, and that continues until they get in a financial position where they don't have it. That way they don't have the big bite. But our secretary, Chuck Marr, thinks that's been discontinued.
Yeah, that would be a good follow-up, and probably the secretary's class will have that. But that brings up another point that I know Don's probably itching to say is when you do your roster, people that pay monthly, sometimes it won't show, they'll show an end date until the new bill shows up, I believe is the process. It caused some issues with Member Center. But yeah, I do believe people can pay monthly.
Yeah, I'm set up to pay monthly, and when I pull up the roster, it shows me that my membership expires at the end of whatever month I'm looking at in that roster. So it does allow me to do that.
Right. There are other ways that if your chapter is financially capable, you as a president can in fact allow someone on your board to make a resolution that is non-name specific. Non-name specific. And the resolution might say, let's authorize $50 for every person every current member who sang in a singing Valentine quartet. We're going to give them $30 as a uniform stipend. Kind of fictitious, but it's a way that the chapter can take some operational money, within constraints and from dues or whatever, which is non-operational, and give it back to individuals. But you cannot specifically say, I'm going to give it to Bill Leslie and Larry and Keith and Roger by name, but you can say I can give it to the quartets that performed on behalf of the chapter in a singing Valentine's capacity. And that's legal.
Okay. Okay.
So a little creative manipulation, but it has to be done within particular constraints. And obviously you can't give away money you don't have. So.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Awesome questions. Bill Rathman, I thought, did you have another question? Or
Yes, sir. I was with the ambassadors for 12 years. The ambassadors of Harmony, I just got off in 2019 with the COVID issues and things. But at AOH, we had what they call an angel fund. And, because of the large chorus and stuff, I guess they're able to support that. But that covered, membership dues issues, as well as when they went to competitions and things, if somebody needed a hand covering that, they would actually help cover the entry fees for those individuals as well.
But Bill, you have to make sure that people that don't have an angel fund need to know that that's not funded from the chapter, dues or operations. It's individual contributions to that then the chapter president can look and know about the members who need some additional quiet help on the side.
That's correct. That's correct. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
No, that's fine. That's good.
Larry.
Yeah, we have the same as what Bill was talking, but ours is called the Sunshine Fund. And just periodically, maybe once a year or whatever, we may pass the hat around and people can contribute or they can give it. We have one person then who is responsible for that. And we let people know that this person is responsible and they can go to him privately and let him know that they are in need of some assistance. And then he will determine whether they will give that, and then they'll let me as president know that this was done with that fund.
And with Sean's question that we started with this, trying to say it politically, but let them know that there's ways for that person to make it up also, there's singing Valentine's, there's show chair, responsibilities, whatever. We don't want to pay someone's dues every year for a decade, but very, very good question. And that's also something we want to talk about, before we fill out that membership, make sure they have a good understanding of what the responsibility of a member of that chapter is going to be. And that's usually best coming from the director and the president.
Dwayne, I want to circle back through. You mentioned Hayes chapter, which is known in the community, especially in smaller rural chapters. One of the key elements that you guys can do is go and have each of your members initiate a conversation with each of their service providers, their welders, their plumbers, their haircutters, their bakers, their butchers, whoever in the university, in the universe of the small towns and the communities, plural, that they live in, will then go in and say, I also sing. Is there an opportunity that my performance, my chorus, can come to this town and perform for you for some cultural or arts or just a summer in the park kind of thing? And you may have to actually train your members on how to reach out, especially your quiet introverts. And I don't like being told no to, but if you're in the insurance industry, you know that, if we're not selling enough premiums or policies, that just means I haven't gotten enough no's, type of thing as it goes forward. But that particular community in Hays, Kansas has been known to bring in two international quartets on their chapter shows, and they don't sell tickets because they have enough gifts in kind from community people in their advertising, and they'll put out a book this thick of ads. And then the person that they do not want to come to their chapter show is the fire marshal. Because he will take those people standing in the back and throw them out. It's happened. So
Thank you, Don.
being the best gold medal chorus in your community is a title that each of our choruses should aspire to and can win that title every single performance that we do. And remember, the most important place for every single singer who's at that performance after the last number is not rushing to clear the stage, not rushing to find where they put their jacket, but rushing to talk to that person that they saw in the audience who was bouncing the knee or mouthing the words with them. And give them your calling cards as a test this next week. If each of you on the call will say, will each of my singers who have at least 2 cards for this chorus in their pocket right now, will you stand up? The silence will be inundating. There will be no rushing of anybody to stand. So the next year you bring cards, the next week you bring cards and hand them out to everybody, because they have to be marketing representatives of the chorus every single time they're out in the community. And if your board has not authorized and taken it upon themselves to spend 30 or 50 bucks for cards galore, well, then please do that, because first of all, on the card, you got to have a phone number of a contact. So how are you going to handle that? That's a chapter business thing. But everybody has to be a marketer and a guest welcomer, as well as being a singer. But we may need to train some people on how to do those other functions in addition to listening and how to harmonize. So
Very good. Well, we have about 14 minutes before the next class, and I'm told that there's a different link to log into that. So hopefully you guys have that, and I will be drastically searching for that. But again, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to share this morning and be a part of this. I hope we all find success, and hopefully you took some things away. One thing I would challenge all of you is for barbershop not to be the greatest secret in your community. There's other choruses, whether they be church choruses or gospel chorus or whatever you have in your community. You might reach out to them and see if you can do a joint concert with them. The point of that is not every music group has gone through COVID, right? So everyone is struggling, and if we can reach out to other organizations and be a pillar in our community, I think that'd be a good challenge for all of us to do. Any other comments from anyone before we end this? All right, I'm going to accept that as a no. If you're going to the spring convention, look forward to seeing you guys there. Again, look for the email about our House of Delegates meeting, which will be on that Friday afternoon of the spring convention. And thank you for being leaders in your group. Have a great day.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Thank you, Dwayne. Good job.
Thank you.
Mm.